Have you ever looked at a pill in your medicine cabinet and just wondered, how did this even get here? It's not a simple path, let me tell you. It's a full-on gauntlet. So today, we're going to break down that entire journey, the one that makes sure the medicines we take are both safe and effective. I mean, it's a pretty fundamental question, right? When your doctor hands you a prescription, you're placing a huge amount of trust in that medicine. But that trust isn't just a blind leap of faith. Oh no, it is earned through one of the most rigorous, demanding regulatory systems on the entire planet. So let's get one thing straight. This is not a simple rubber stamp. This is a multi-stage gauntlet, a series of hurdles designed to challenge a potential new medicine at every single step. And by the way, it's a gauntlet that the vast, vast majority of drugs that enter, well, they just don't survive.
Okay, let's dive into this thing. Where does this whole journey even begin? Well, long before any human is ever involved, it all starts in the lab.
It all kicks off with that eureka moment, the discovery of a promising new compound. But you can't just start giving it to people. First up is the supercritical preclinical stage. This means tons of lab and animal testing to get the basic info on safety. Think of it as the first major filter. If, and only if, the compound looks safe enough, then the sponsor can finally go to the FDA and ask for permission to start trying it in humans.
And that request is called an IND, an Investigational New Drug Application. The easiest way to think about it? It's like a passport. It is the official permission slip from the FDA, and without it, the drug's journey stops right there. The FDA pores over all that preclinical data to make sure that moving on to people won't put them at an unreasonable risk. Okay, so with that passport stamped, the drug now enters the most famous, and you could definitely argue the most difficult, part of the whole process, the human trials gauntlet.
Phase 1 kicks things off, and we're starting small, like really small. We're talking typically just 20 to 80 healthy volunteers.
Now you might be thinking, okay, this is where they see if the drug works. But nope, not yet. The main question here is way more fundamental. Is it safe for humans? Researchers are laser focused on side effects and just figuring out how the body absorbs, uses, and gets rid of the drug. Right now, it is all about safety, safety, safety. So if the drug manages to clear that first safety hurdle, it's on to phase 2. And as you can see, the number of people involved jumps up into the hundreds.
All right, now the focus finally shifts from just safety to effectiveness. For the very first time, the drug is given to patients who actually have the condition it's meant to treat. The big question is, does this thing actually work? And to find out, they'll often use a placebo control group. This lets them see if the drug has a real, measurable effect beyond just a sugar pill. This is where we get the first real proof that it might be beneficial. And if those results look promising, well, we scale up again. And this time, we do it in a big way. Phase 3 trials involve thousands of patients. The goal of this absolutely massive final trial is to confirm everything they've learned so far, but on a much larger and more diverse scale. Researchers are gathering more data on safety and effectiveness across different kinds of people. They're testing different dosages and studying how the drug might interact with other medications. This is the last big data dump before the drug company can formally ask for the green light. So after years, and we're talking often billions of dollars, all of that data gets compiled. The drug company has done its part. Now, the drug faces its ultimate test, the FDA's formal final review. To get this final stage started, the sponsor submits what's called a New Drug Application, or NDA. Now, if the IND was the passport to begin the journey, the NDA is the final exam. This thing is a colossal document. It's got every single piece of data from the entire process, all the animal studies, all the human trials, the manufacturing details, everything. So once the FDA accepts that application, a whole team of experts, doctors, chemists, statisticians, they just dive in. They scrutinize all the data, sure, but they go way further. They'll actually go and inspect the manufacturing facilities to ensure quality. They meticulously review the proposed drug label to make sure every word is accurate. Every single detail gets looked at before a decision is made. So let's say the drug passes. It gets approved. The champagne corks are popping. But the story is far from over. In fact, a whole new phase of vigilance begins the second it hits the pharmacy shelves. This is what's known as Phase 4, or post-market monitoring. See, now the drug is being used by millions of people out in the real world, a population that is way bigger and more complex than anything you could possibly study in a clinical trial. And this really gets to a critical point. It's just not possible to predict every single effect of a drug during those trials. The real world, with millions of users, that's the ultimate test. And that's exactly why the FDA has this post-marketing safety system to catch any serious, unexpected problems that might only show up later. So, how does this monitoring even work? Well, for one, the drug sponsor has to submit regular safety updates. But just as important, the FDA has a system called MedWatch. This actually allows doctors and even consumers like you and me to report potential problems. And if a new risk is found, the FDA can take action. That could mean anything from changing the drug's label to, in some rare cases, pulling it from the market completely. Now, this whole process, from the first discovery in a lab to your local pharmacy, can easily take over a decade. But what if patients with a life-threatening disease don't have a decade to wait? For those really urgent situations, the FDA has alternate pathways to speed things up. Two of the main ones are called Fast Track and Accelerated Approval. Both are for serious conditions where there aren't any good treatment options. Fast Track basically lets drug makers turn in their application in sections as they're completed, instead of all at once at the very end. Accelerated Approval is a little different. It lets the FDA approve a drug based on what's called a surrogate endpoint. So, for example, instead of waiting years to prove a cancer drug extends life, they might approve it based on evidence that it shrinks tumors, which is a really strong sign that it's likely to help patients. A huge change came back in 1992 with a law known as PDUFA. This was a total game changer. It allows the FDA to collect fees from drug companies and then use that money to hire more reviewers. And the result? The FDA has been able to slash its review times, getting over 1,000 new medicines to patients much faster, all without having to lower its incredibly strict safety standards. So, from a simple discovery in a lab to a lifetime of surveillance on the market, the drug approval process is an absolutely incredible gauntlet. And it really leaves us with a fascinating question to chew on. As our science gets more and more advanced, how will we continue to evolve that critical, delicate balance between getting treatments out quickly and ensuring they are absolutely safe?